Their hearts, they have multiplied like triples. And the rest of you are the descendants of triples. And that's what's contributed to this incredible longevity of Star Trek. Because fans are dedicated, and they're persistent, and they're bullheaded. They won't give up. And despite the fact that we were canceled back in 1969, most of you did not exist at that time. The original fans were absolutely determined that they're going to love Star Trek. And you guys were fantastic. Give yourselves a hand, those of you who began the whole phenomenon. Because we owe to all of you, the descendants as well as the descendants of descendants, because you became dedicated phenomenals. You became famous as that. And you wrote letters, you campaigned, you knew how to make yourselves heard, and so here we are, more than 55 years after Star Trek originally started. Yes, give yourselves a hand. More than half a century, and I've been around for more than half a century, longer than Star Trek. So thank you all very much. We have indeed lived long and prospered. And so let's begin the conversation with the newcomer, and I may teach you a thing or two.
I'm ready to learn. First of all, as an Asian American, I am so honored and in awe to be with you here because you paved the way for Asian Americans, for Asians in Hollywood, for LGBTQ in Hollywood. I have been acting theatrically for 12 years, and I have put up with tons of racism and like microaggressions in the past 12 years. Even to this day, I can't imagine the crap you put up with back then. That there was so much racism in Hollywood, not only in Hollywood, but in the world and in the wider culture, but especially on television. I don't even know what to ask you. Like, what did it feel like? Like, give us the context of what that time was like when you were on Star Trek.
It's all in how you approach. And it isn't just anti-Asian and Asian American racism. People basically are racist. They're prejudiced. Because in Asia, you can't imagine the kind of prejudice that exists there.
Oh, I can.
They find something to, make yourself different from other people. So it's not just in America, it's not just in Asia, it's all over the world. Every society finds a way to make discriminatory actions. The thing is how you approach it. If you go in with teeth gritted and ready to fight, you won't win, because we're a minority. It's in how you approach it. And Star Trek is a brilliant example of how you approach it. Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, became legendary because he had, first of all, an opinion, and he was very opinionated, but he also was creative. He said television was being wasted on the audience. Television is a wonderful, powerful medium on so many levels. I mean, certainly entertainment, but it could also inform and enlighten and activate the audience. And the 60s, when Star Trek started out, was a turbulent time. We had the civil rights movement going on, demonstrating for equality, because they had a 400-year history of racism and prejudice. Speaking of racism and prejudice, it was a noble act that they were doing, and they were being attacked by law enforcement officers with attack dogs and fire hoses and all sorts of outrages. The 60s was also a time of the Vietnam War in Southeast Asia. And that war in far-off Southeast Asia was dividing this country. There were people that were fiercely supporting the war, and there were people that were passionately determined to get peace there. We have to be actively engaged in all of these and not take it all personally and say Asians are being discriminated. That is true. And I have a certain history. And I've written a book about it, and thank you all very much for those of you that are supporting me.
Let's name drop the book. What's the name of the book?
They called us enemy. We were called enemy. We were Americans of Japanese ancestry, and yet we were called enemy. So rather than saying, we gotta fight racism, understand the society that you're in and try to elevate. Gene Roddenberry said, yes, we have racism in our society. How can we deal with it? It's on television. All we see are airhead comedies, game shows, cops and robbers, cowboys and Indians. I want to deal with all this reality, turbulence that's going on. But television is an advertising medium. How do I go about sharing my philosophy with them? And he came up with a very creative solution. Put it in the future, 300 years. Put it on a huge starship. I'm going to use metaphors, Gene Roddenberry said. That starship is a metaphor for Starship Earth. And the strength of this starship is in its diversity. People from all over this planet. And we have a diverse planet. People from Africa, Asia, Latin America, Europe, North America. We're all different, and we all have different languages, different cultures, different faiths, and it's that diversity coming together and working in concert as a team that's our strength. Not just our strength, but also it makes life on the Enterprise that much more engaging, more interesting, more lively. That was a beautiful philosophy. And so he dealt with the issue of racism and hate and sterility and boring, same kind of society by using it as a metaphor for an even richer, stronger, more vibrant society. That's how you deal with racism. And so yes, in the 1940s, we were at war, a horrible war. And that was started by us supporting